Welcome to Client Connect Template Creation. How would you like to create your very own template? Well, you don't really have to. There are quite a few very pretty ones already set up for you, but you do have the capability of building your very own. And you can make one from scratch, or you can use predefined layouts. Let's take a look at how to accomplish this. From your Client Connect account, look for the marketing link on the left. Click on that and then look for the Templates button. Point at that arrow that's just to the right of the Templates button and you'll see the option to create your own template. Click on that and we will begin. We're going to go right to the Template Builder. That is the most powerful tool you can use. Obviously you can make a plain text template, but that's not very exciting. If you have an existing HTML template, that can be pasted in using this option. But we're going to use the builder for this demonstration, and we're going to click on Create over to the right. And we're going to give our template a name. And the name of today's template is just a demo template. Subject will form the subject line, the default subject line of the template when it is used to create a campaign. You will, of course, have the option of changing that subject line prior to sending out the campaign. But this subject line you put in is considered the default. If you are making a newsletter template, you could call it newsletter template, or you could call it general template. Anything you want, just remember that when you put it into a campaign, you will want to change the subject line, since that will inform the subject line once it's received as an email. So put something into this line and click Next. You'll notice on the right, rights and permissions. As always, you are the owner, so leave the selection set to owner unless you wish to share your template with another group or team or the whole company. But for this example, we are just going to own our own template. So here are some layout options. You can see from the illustrations the basic idea behind the pre-cut choices, or there's the totally blank one. Let's use a two-column layout, and let's click Next. So on the right you have the essentials of how your template looks. On the left you have all the items that can be added to a template. Since this template comes with pre-cut columns and text boxes and such, all you need to do is make changes to the existing material. It's essentially a starting point. So here's how it works. As you move your mouse over things, you're going to see control buttons. Take this big text box here, which has a clip of Shakespeare or something in it. When you point at that text box, notice the three buttons that appear in the corner. And those are for the following purposes: repositioning the text box, making changes to the text box, including the text itself and the text appearance, and deleting the text box. This is going to appear for anything you point at. So notice we move over to this other text box here, and we get the same three buttons. We get the same three buttons down here with this placeholder for social media links. We get the same three buttons here at this heading box. And notice that we get three buttons here because this box contains these little text boxes and the social media links. So you have control over this area as a whole, and you have control over the individual items that appear in this pre-cut layout. Same thing up here. Notice that there's an identification spot for your company name or personal branding. You point at that, you got your three buttons: reposition, make changes, or delete. Then you've got the same three buttons for this blue box as a whole. Let's take a look at some of what you can do in there. If we press the change button on that big blue box, on the left we're going to see the items that control its appearance. including, for example, the background color. So that dark blue that appears by default has this numerical color code. We can change that by clicking on the little paintbrush and moving our slider to some other position on the color spectrum, and then we can click inside that box to pick any of these colors that we see within the given position of the spectrum that we've chosen. So if you would like a green, click somewhere in the green and click Apply. Notice now that that entire box across the top inherits that color. The individual boxes that reside inside of it have their own control buttons. Here's a placeholder for a picture. That's what the number is telling you. Notice also that the big box, this banner box here, has a layout option of its own. And in this case, it is a 2-column layout, which can favor left or right. So you can change that. If you select a pre-cut template in the builder, you're always able to change the column layout. So it doesn't make a whole lot of difference here, but bear that in mind when you start introducing new columns and so forth. Additionally, width can be stretched to the edges, or it can be told to justify only to the content. See, that makes it a little thinner. So it can stretch all the way, or it can just conform to the essentials of the content that's within there. Let's take a look at changing some of this other stuff. Now that we know how to control the background, let's look in the little picture placeholder, because this would be a good place for example, your agent photo. Click the Change button, and over on the left, it's not a fancy interface, but there's a little picture placeholder, and when you click on that, that's how you are going to drop a picture into this box. And you may upload one, or you can choose from existing images. So I have a few that I've been experimenting with. I'll borrow Mariah's picture. I don't think she'll mind. There's a little preview of the picture as it will appear. So this will tell you right off the bat whether the picture's too large or not. Pictures do need to be resized prior to uploading. We don't have resizing built in, at least not just yet. But once you've uploaded and found an image that is relatively okay in size for what we're working with, go ahead and click on Apply. And now the agent photo is visible at the top of the newsletter template. We can go in and make changes to this little placeholder that says Acne Ink, and we can get something a little more appropriate. So we click on Change, and notice that the text appears here. And we change that to what we want. Settings will give us control over text color, size, other items. And there we go. Notice that the text is aligned to the right of it to form a more appropriate header. And that's how we can put in some picture and change our text and control the way it looks and colors and so forth. So you can move down here, make changes as needed. I don't know who William is, so I'm just going to change that to a generic greeting. So in this example, it's basically a question of just changing what's in there. But remember that you can pull things out of there if you decide you don't like them. Maybe I don't need this extra text box. Maybe I don't need this set of social media links. I can get rid of anything I don't want. Similarly, if we go back up to the upper left, right now we're looking at what we call elements. If we look at canvas configuration, that gives us a little bit more control over the entirety of this template. So maybe we want a different background color than just plain old white. Maybe we'd like something a little more green, perhaps. Well, I've got green in my banner, so we'll go with something a little more radical. Phew, okay, well, a bit on the bright side there. Pretty horrible color clashing. I'm not that great with colors, but that demonstrates the level of control you have. Keep things easy on the eyes. I think we'll leave it on white. And we'll apply that. Oh, wrong place. All right, back to an agreeable state. So that's the basics of changing what shows up in the predefined layout. Let's go back to this choice for a second, elements, because this is where you can put in more stuff. Maybe you want another place to add a picture. Maybe you'd like to take a picture and put it somewhere in this column. You can click and drag on whatever item you'd like. As you move, the little drop here box is going to show you the places you can put the item you are bringing in. So depending on the template, the layout you've chosen, there will be a variety of spots you can drop it. Everything is done in columns, which is why as you move up and down, it gives you the option of putting it into a column of its own. Now in this case, I want it to be between that text box and those social media items, so when the box that says drop here shows up in that position, I can let go of the mouse button, and now I have a place to put in another picture. So we go to that new picture box we just dropped, and we look for that little change button. And there's the familiar icon to change a picture, insert a picture, upload one, or use one you've already got. We'll use the Christmas tree in this example. And click Apply. Very nice. Let's go back to our Elements menu for a second. So there are a variety of items you can put in. Let's take a look at this one. It's called a button. I'm going to put it in its own row. Well, no, I'll put it in a row on top of this Shakespeare text. And notice that the default values are a kind of teal blue, I think that is. If we click on the Change Settings button within that box, now you'll notice that the text that says click here can be changed, and this can be made into a link to somewhere else, perhaps your agent website or some other place of your choosing. Perhaps you'd like that to point back to your property search. Always a good thing to put in a newsletter, for example. Open a new window by default, very good choice. Other element and style considerations available. Click on Apply. I should have picked a different color, but not too bad. It's in the spot I wanted. It's got the text I want, and it's linking to exactly where I want it to link to. Remember again, we've taken a lot of steps here, but there's going to be preset templates for example, your newsletter. So you don't have to build your own newsletter template from scratch. But if you like building your own templates, this is a terrific way to go. There's a preview button that will show you pretty much what your template will look like when received in a newsletter. So that's more or less exactly what I put in there. I'll close my preview and I'm back to my control panel here. If you like everything you see, you can click on Next. There's an option to put in additional text. I would skip that at this point and just click on Save to finalize your template. The template you created can now be added into a campaign. Please take a look at the creating a campaign video for details on that. I want to show you one more thing about templates before we finish here. If we go to the existing templates and we go to Create Template, I'm going to use the template builder one more time. Click Create. And I'll give it a generic name of some sort. Give it a name, subject, click Next. So there's those layouts we started with, and I want you to see for a second just the blank one. Click Next. So at this point you're starting with just about nothing. Everything is going to be added in using text boxes, buttons, picture placeholders, rich text box, dividers if you just want a line or something. So start putting in the items you're going to need. If you put in rich text, for example, put that right at the top. Then we can go to the Change button within that little text box. The placeholder tells us where we're going to put text. Notice that this editor gives you rich text functionality, so formatting kind of like you would see in Microsoft Word, that kind of thing. So you can make your text bold and italicized. Settings will give you the colors and the size and so forth. So stick with content for the basics like alignment, changing selected text into a link. Possibly even adding a table, which is pretty fancy. Click Apply to make that happen. Then let's go back to your elements and pick some more things to put in. Headers are always nice, and I can put that above my greeting there. What changes can we make to our header? Well, a header, by definition, has a picture and a banner in it, which is kind of nice. So it's kind of like we saw in the pre-cut template. So that comes in handy. Experiment with the other items that you can pull in, but that will give you a starting point for making your very own templates. One more thing before we wrap up. I'm going to cancel out of this. Back at your list of templates, you'll notice the templates you've made have your name on them. And if for some reason you're not all that crazy about the template that you've made, you have the option of deleting it. So if you click on it, it gives you a summary of how it looks and what you've done with it. At the upper right is an options button, which allows you to start making changes with it, to it, or get rid of it altogether. So you can delete stuff that you have created. Once again, you're not going to have to make your own templates much. We have lots of nice ones that are all ready to go. We have newsletter templates coming in very soon. But if you are the kind of person who likes that kind of control and would like to make your own template from scratch, the capability is there. So please try that out and have fun with it. Thanks for watching.